Welcome back. So today we're going to talk about how the West really develops and grows. It goes from kind of being, a few cowboys and Indians out west to really growing, having settlers and people moving out west. And if you remember from our last video, we talked about trains and how trains really revolutionize this area at this time. And so because of trains, because it's easier to move goods back and forth, you suddenly now can have the opportunity to live there yourself. And so that's really the core of what we're going to speak about today. And so in your notes, you need to have today's titled as Home on the Range. And if you've ever heard the song Home on the Range, it's kind of that same idea. So one of the big reasons that it enables people to move out west is in 1862, there is a law passed called the Homestead Act, and it really opens up land for any homesteaders who want to farm it, including women and African Americans. And a homesteader are people who claimed and agreed to settle on land promised to them under the Homestead Act. And the idea is you're going to go build your homestead. You're going to build your new life for yourself out west. It gave settlers 160 acres of land to get started, and originally seen as desert that they couldn't be farmed. The Great Plains provide valuable farmland for these new farmers to move out to. One of the things that really changes a lot of the West is barbed wire. It was patented by Joseph Glidden in 1871, and it created hardships for Native Americans, but settlers could now fence in their property and contain cattle, and really begin to take over possession of certain parts of the West. Now, as farming grows and becomes more important, there's actually some backlash, and farmers begin to organize eventually, and it's because of these reasons. And it's kind of a chain reaction. As populations grow, then there's a demand for more food. If there's a demand for more food, then there's a need for more farming. If there's a need for more farming, there's profits to be made for those farmers, so the more people are going to become farmers. When more people become farmers, well, then they're going to grow more food, and that could lead to too much food. And if there's too much food, then the price is lower, and then there's real problems. And that's what farmers encountered in the 1860s. Farmers began to lose money, and they began to blame high shipping fees, high costs for supplies, high interest charges on their bank loans. And so in 1867, Oliver Hudson Kelley, he leads farmers in in creating an organization called the National Grain of the Patrons of Husbandry. It's an organization that provided social services and set up cost-cutting cooperatives for farmers. And so let's kind of backtrack here for a second and talk about what is a grange. A grange is a place where grain is stored, and it's also kind of an association for farmers. So kind of think of it a little bit like a union for farmers, and we'll go much more deeper into what unions are next video. A cooperative is an organization in which people share costs and profits. So kind of they pool their resources, and then when they make money, they all kind of then evenly divide up that money. Now, the National Grain also lobbied for state regulation of railroad fees and prices, and really tried to rein in the railroad companies because they saw that as kind of one of the main reasons why they were not making a profit, and that they felt like they had no control over their livelihoods. Now, these problems over farmers not making very much money leads to, in 1873, the nation put its currency on what was known the gold standard, meaning that the amount of paper money available was determined by the amount of gold in the treasury. Gold was scarce, so less money was in circulation. Prices fell because each individual dollar was worth more. And so the free silver movement, this kind of idea that grows out of this time, out of this gold standard, appealed to farmers because as prices fell, so did their profits. And so when the free silver movement comes along, they advocate adding silver into the mix to kind of produce more money, which would lead to inflation. So if you think about it, if your dollar bill is worth $1's worth of gold, this time you could take your dollar bill into the bank and say, I want this much in gold. That was how much it was backed by. But since gold is scarce and hard to find those resources, then it makes money more expensive. So what these farmers are saying is, hey, let's throw some silver into the mix and let's really cut the cost of money and make it easier for us to be able to buy goods. Well, the problem is when you cut that cost, then that means prices actually have to go up because the demand is still there. And so then as a result, it creates problems for these farmers that were kind of unforeseen. And the free silver movement really doesn't get quite as much of a hold as it probably could have. So that's it. This is a short video, I know, but it's actually a really important one because this free silver movement and these homesteaders are, first you're going to get kind of the first organized labor movement here in the Grange, and then you're also going to get the free silver and anti-gold standard movement. Next video, we're going to talk about a political movement called populism, and there's going to be a guy by the name of William Jennings Bryan who we're going to talk about for the next probably 20, 30 years of history. He's going to be very influential. He's going to run for president, and he's going to be a person who really leads the charge against that gold standard. So for today, you need to have this information in your notes. Try to come up with a couple, at least 2 essay questions, potential essay questions that we'll talk about in class. If you have any other questions or comments, put them in the margins of your notes so that when you come to class tomorrow, we can talk about those much more. And other than that, that's it. So make sure you remember the Grange, first kind of organized labor for farmers, the free silver movement, which is the push against the gold standard. And remember what the gold standard is. Your money was backed by gold at one point. Until tomorrow, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.